back with you.
Wow, so this is a different look, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Hey, Silas.
Hi.
So we're talking about a new band now for this channel, Quarantine Hearts.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine. Just got hiccups. Sonic Youth. This is the first EP that they
We're just
made.
going to launch right into the career of Sonic
It's their first
Youth.
release. We have both the record and the CD here.
Mm-hmm.
It's.
We also have the cassette.
Yes,
Oh,
we do
yeah.
have the tape. We could get that. This is on the SST label, the reissue technically from the 80s. Originally on Glenn Branca's Neutral Records, a small imprint he started in the Lower East Side in the early 80s. So, what do we want to talk about how this band started, Sonic Youth? This has become one of the most influential rock bands of all time, really.
I don't know.
You don't think?
I don't know how they started.
Well, so they're all from like different backgrounds essentially, and the main trio of people are on this in the band really. Thurston Moore, Kim Gordon,
right
Lee
now we have
Ronaldo.
Thurston Moore, Kim Gordon, Lee Ronaldo, as well as
Richard Edson was the first drummer in the band, and they came out of the Lower East Side, early '80s, late '70s art scene in New York.
Is Camerawoman here?
I'm here.
Yeah, she is. She's watching. She's watching us. So this is a very important band for me and Camerawoman growing up. But
Very much so.
they came out of the art scene, like sort of the untrained no-wave scene as it was being called, where it was like all about bands getting together and just sort of making sounds and noise in lofts and art spaces. So
Yeah,
they slowly started rehearsing and just sort of experimenting and coming up with stuff, and I guess Kim and Thurston, who were a couple basically, they got together and started making sounds with this woman named Anne DeMarinis, who was playing keyboards, and Richard Edson. At some point they were making, starting to make things get more rehearsed. The Ann lady left, and they brought in Lee, who both Lee and Thurston were making sort of guitar experimentation with Glenn Branca and Reese Chatham, I believe, as well. They were coming out of this very artsy scene, but also a dance scene in the Lower East Side in the 80s. There was this thing going on with bands like ESG and Liquid Liquid. We were just reading about how the 9-9 label was like really kind of a big deal in a way. They were a small independent label in the East Village, and so they were like coming out of that, and you can hear that sort of dance element on this EP. Really the only EP, or really only Sonic Youth music that sounds like that. There's like a dub element to some of this, and it is an EP really, or what do we think? An EP or an LP?
It's only like 22 minutes long, so it's an EP.
It's what, 6 tracks?
No, 5.
It's only 5.
Let's talk about them.
Glenn Branca calls it an album, though.
Yeah, I feel like it plays more like an album. It feels more like an album. It was recorded at Radio City Music Hall, weirdly. They had a little studio there, same place that the Ramones recorded their first album and Suicide recorded their first album. Recorded and produced or engineered by Don Huneberg. December 1981, January 82. It was like right in the dead of winter. Yeah, it is a release that sounds like no Sonic Youth record, really. And if this is the first thing you hear by Sonic Youth, you might be surprised on their next album. But it has a very much, at times, danceable feeling to it.
Next album is quite experimental.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Weird.
It's got a very rhythmic pulse, but lots of sort of like guitars that are just, not melodic in any way. It's a very rhythmic album, and Richard Edson talks about that in the liner notes that are quite long.
Very long.
Quite the story. Actually, the liner notes to the expanded CD, which is what we have here. This is the expanded CD with extra stuff on it. There's a bunch of background info on the album or EP that I didn't even know, so that was cool. But
I didn't know he was so long-winded.
Yeah, Richard Edson. I think he actually left Sonic Youth. He decided to leave to be in the band Conk, who was kind of a liquid light, you might call it. Pretty good, but
And he also wanted to be in movies. You're upside down.
Yeah, well, that's confusing because the back is this way. And yeah, Richard Edson of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Insert.
You speak English?
What country do you think this is?
Okay.
So, what do we think about these songs?
So we have the tracks.
The Burning Spear.
First
That's a
we
rocker.
have the Burning Spear. Yeah, that's a good one. Thurston's got this. That's pretty loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, he's like, his voice is
Goes all
loud to hit the
Yeah.
visual. I Dreamed has a lot of explosions in it.
Yep. I like, my favorite is The Good and the Bad, maybe.
Yeah,
Which
The
has
Good
got
and the Bad
that-
is a great one. It's around 8 minutes long. It's got like a little solo part in it.
The Burning Spear and The Good and the Bad, I believe, are both played by Thurston Moore on the bass. The bass is like way up front, and yeah, again, like danceable,
Bouncy.
Yeah.
very bouncy. And Richard Edson's playing very much an upbeat feel. This is absolutely great.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely great. The first time I heard this, because I heard this after hearing the early 90s Sonic Youth, I almost couldn't understand it.
yeah, and then we have She's Not Alone. And I Don't Want to Push It, too.
Those felt like they came up with in the studio, kind of like messing around and experimenting.
Yeah, I Don't Want to Push It. He's got his Tarzan voice again.
I like that Tarzan voice. Is that what you call it? Okay,
Yeah.
I like it. But yeah, it was Glenn Branca who really wanted to release this album, put it on his own label, Neutral Records, and yeah, they played all around New York City. They were kind of getting their start, playing in all the cool clubs.
Yeah, yeah, and the copy that we have on CD has also an early live September 1981 track list of songs, which includes, let's see, Hard Work. That's not something we know
Yeah,
about.
they talk about it.
The Burning Spear, they do a copy of that. They do She's Not Alone, and there's Destroyer, Loud and Soft, Cosmopolitan Girl, and then we also have a song called Where the Red Fern Grows, which is in a different studio. Early.
Where the Red Fern Grows is actually an early version of The Good and the Bad, I think it was. It's like a different version of it.
It
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
actually,
yeah.
okay. Does it sound
But
like
this
it?
is like a snapshot of a time of New York City in the early 80s. It really is of that time. I was only 3 years old then, 4 years old, so I don't remember it, but yeah, this was New York. This was New York City when it was like cheap and a little dangerous, and you could live there and kind of do your own thing and be in bands like this.
Yeah. Just be an artist and
Yeah.
squalor and
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
Can't do that now.
No, you can't. Well-
Yeah, it was pretty good EP. If you saw our trailer, you know that our new rating system is called
What is it?
What is our new
Did you-
Candles. One of our later albums called Danger Nation has a cover with a candle on it. So we
All
decided
right, so
to
we're
do
gonna give
something
1
like that.
through 10 candles.
Yeah,
That's
I guess
good.
1
I like
through
it.
Candles. I give this EP 8 candles.
All right, I'll go 9 candles on this one. I love this one.
Okay.
Same here. 9.
Fantastic. I want to give it a 10. I always do that. I'm like, oh, I want to give it more or less.
You have
Yeah.
that ability.
I'll go with 9.
Yeah, and
I'll go with 9 because it's definitely they're still kind of like figuring things out,
The
but
green.
there's,
raw.
it's loose or it's there's not a lot to it in a way. There's not too complicated, but for what they did was
It hits
yeah,
perfect.
it hits right.
yep. And before we announce our next release for Sonic Youth, next video, we I just wanted to make a little quick announcement. Basically, we said how if a new album is released by Neil Young, then we would interrupt the Sonic Youth train, do a video on it, come back to Sonic Youth. Well, we might do that either after this one or either after the next one. Neil Young announced a new album called what is it? Before and After, not too long ago, right?
Yeah, but it's he's redoing songs.
Like,
I don't know.
It's like at
yeah.
times he's like doing like acoustic songs. On
They're
his
not
own.
new songs.
They're not. No. And
Retreads.
he's covering his.
I don't know if we'll do
what
that.
Taylor Swift was doing, and he's like, I gotta get in on that.
Taylor,
I gotta.
she's onto something.
I gotta. And then for this one,
We're recording it.
for this one, surprisingly, he did clear vinyl, which he never does.
All right, we're talking too much about Neil Young.
All right,
now.
yeah.
This is the
next
Sonic
album-
Youth series. Not unlike Neil Young, there's nowhere to go after like 2000. Not almost after 2010. There was a new release a few years ago, but this band ends in about 2009, 2010.
Yeah, there's a little thing after the last album. But next album is called Confusion is Sex. Second album.
Great, I can't wait.
First album.
We could do the EP that goes along with it as well, but we'll talk about
Kill
that.
Your Idols.
Yeah.
Oh, Kill Your Idols? I haven't heard of it.
They
Mm-hmm.
released them together.
Okay.
Well, it's
I think.
re-released together.
We got to get back on
We could
that.
do a video together on it.
We'll see. All right.
Okay.
Very good. Thank
Bye.
you. See ya.